What is up, dudes and dudettes? Isaac here. Today I am going to be making a video that a lot of you guys, at least on Instagram, have been asking me to make, and that's a video on how I edit my wildlife photos. I've done a video like this before on my YouTube, but it was a couple years ago, and I've learned a lot about editing since then. I'm only going to be using Lightroom today, Lightroom Classic, which is a very user-friendly editing software. I feel like when I first started off, it was great, it was easy to use, but now I've learned a lot of really cool tools that I'm going to show you guys. So let's hop right into the computer, or laptop I guess I should say. Make sure my screen recording's going here. Alright, so we have this photo, this lovely photo of a great gray owl, which is one of my all-time favorite animals in the entire universe, because they're just so epic. In flight here, I took this in Jellystone National Park last fall. And it's just a cool flight shot. I like the environment, I like the trees in the background, I like the owl's pose. So yeah, I dig it. So this is the photo I'm going to be editing. Okay, first things first. The first thing I like to do when I'm editing photos is to adjust the crop how I like. Now, I'm not going to crop this photo much. I'm just going to take a little bit off. I don't feel like it needs... Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back just a little bit because see this tree here? I like that being in here on the bottom right. So that right there, it's a little off center. Let me move it a little bit this way. That looks good, right like that. All right, so that is a crop I'm happy with because I'm wanting to include a little bit of this environment. I'm not wanting it to be a super close, tight shot of it in flight. I like the trees in the background, so I'm going to keep all that. All right, next what I'm going to be doing is I am going to add a radial filter, which is this little circle filter up here. So I'm going to press that, and I'm going to make a circle around the owl like this. Adjust it a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to make sure all my settings are at the default settings here. Move that down just a skosh. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here on the bottom right where it says feather, and I'm going to boost that up to 100%. So I'm going to do that. And now, to make this a very moody photograph, I'm going to darken it. So what this radial filter is doing is it's going to adjust anything that's not in the circle. So everything besides what you see in the circle, the owl, is going to be affected with whatever settings you change here. So when I bring the darkness down, see how everything but the owl is being affected? That's what we want. So I'm going to darken this just a tad, just like that. I don't want to go overboard because I don't want it to look unnatural. That to me looks okay. Now I'm going to add, guys, Dehaze is man's best friend. I like to go negative on Dehaze. It just makes it flatter because I don't like a really punchy photo. So I'm going to dehaze it negatively by like -13 here, and then darken it even a little bit more. That way it's still dark, but it's not that punchy darkness because I don't want that. So that looks good to moi. Okay, we're going to leave that as is for now. Now... Okay, so what I like to do to make a moody photo is decrease the warmth. So a moody photo, there's just not many warm moody photos, I feel like. I feel like moody is like a darker, cool kind of feel, you know what I mean? So to make this moody, I'm just gonna actually take this temperature slider here and bring it down. Okay, that's way too much. I don't want it to be blue. I don't want the owl to look like a damn Smurf. Let's see. I think -5 is good. See how that just made it look like Blue Hour almost? Just made it look super moody. Moody AF. So that is how I want it, like that. Okay, now I'm just going to add a tad bit of contrast right here. A little bit of contrast. Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. Alrighty, next up is I'm going to adjust the color. So I personally do not like this color green. I know I sound kind of weird and picky, but it's just not a very appealing color to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down here to our saturation sliders right here, and you can adjust by pressing hue, saturation, or luminance. I'm gonna go into saturation here, which it already is on. And now you can adjust each color individually on this slider. So I'm gonna play with the greens. Watch this, if I bring the greens up, the saturation, oh, that's on all, hold on a second. Let's go to saturation. If I bring the greens up, it really makes those greens stand out. I don't personally like that. I know a lot of y'all are gonna disagree with me, but this is just my personal preference on making a photo moody. So I'm gonna bring those down. Yeah, like that. See that? I just prefer that look better instead of bright greens. I like bringing them down, make it moody. And then let's see with the hue. You can change the hue of the color, so I'm gonna see what different hues of this green look like. See how it turns like a darker green compared to like a yellowish? I don't like the yellowish, so I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna change that. That's fine, just like that. I do like the color of this orange tree down here, this dead pine tree. I don't think I'm gonna adjust that though. I think it looks plenty bright already. If I wanted to, whoops. If I wanted to, I can go into saturation and adjust that too. But I'm not gonna do that because I think that looks a-okay, just as is. Okay, so now let's go to luminance, which is like the brightness of the color. So I'm gonna see if I can bring down the brightness of the green just a little bit, like that, make it less intrusive. Okay, now we're gonna go down here to sharpening, because we always wanna sharpen our photos. Makes a big difference, especially if you're gonna be printing your photos large. So I'm not gonna sharpen it too much. For this one, I'm only gonna go like 20%. And then I'm gonna press, okay, I'm gonna hold down Option on my Mac. I don't know what button it would be on a Dell or whatever those are called, Microsoft. But if you hold down Option, hold it down, and go down to masking here, I'm gonna bring that up, and everything that's white is gonna be sharpened and everything that's black isn't gonna be. Because if we just sharpen everything, sharpening adds grain. So if I were to sharpen everything, the background would start to see grain, and I don't want that. So I'm just gonna hit Option, hold down, mask, and I only want the owl to be affected. If a little of the grass in the foreground is affected, that's fine. Make the owl nice and sharp, cool. Ooh, okay, so see this little feather, or whatever this is, a bug over the owl? I do not like that. It doesn't look that big of a deal when you're looking at it on a screen, but in a print you would definitely see that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this little tool right here, which is a spot remover. So if I do that and just shrink down the size a little bit and press on this little dust spot, boom, it's gone. Perfecto mundo. Alrighty, now to really make this owl pop and make it look almost 3D looking, I'm just gonna go into the brush tool here and do some brush work on just the owl. So let's go into the brush tool right here. Make sure the settings are on default right away. And I'm gonna shrink the brush size. And I'm gonna paint the owl here, and you guys will see why in just a second. So I'm gonna paint the wing. Paint the face. Paint those adorable little legs. Look at those little chicken legs. Alright. Now I'm not going to do a perfect job just so this video is not super long, but I would kind of try to be a little bit more nitpicky about this. Okay, so the owl's painted. Now I'm going to adjust the whites right here. So I'm going to bring the whites up. See how that brightens the owl? See if I were to take that down, but I'm going to bring that up quite a bit just so it really makes the owl stand out. And I'm also going to bring the clarity up just a scotch. That's too much. We don't want it to be, you know, we don't want it to overdo it. But see how that just really made the owl pop? Quite a lot actually. So that is good, just like that. All right. Now, let's go back to this radial filter right up here, this circle filter. And if you press the circle, that's going to be our old radial filter that we already did where we darken the background. I'm going to go down to the clarity here. I totally forgot to do this, and bring the clarity down a little bit. See if I bring that up, all the trees start to stand out, but I want it to be real blurry. So So I'm just gonna bring that down, just -13 is fine. All right, that is looking quite juicy, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm gonna, okay. Another thing I like to do, especially, see how this foreground down here, or the bottom half of the photo is just pretty bright, and it kind of takes your focus away from the owl a little bit. I'm gonna take this graduated filter, which is this filter right here on the top here, press that. And what we do is we drag that over the bottom and just place it where we're wanting to affect. So anything in this section is going to be affected. And now I'm just going to darken that a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of this dehaze to flatten it a little bit. And now darken it a little bit more. See, that's too much. But something like that looks pretty damn good to me. This is looking quite a bit better as is, folks. But one thing I notice, and I'm very nitpicky when I edit my photos, is see how it kind of looks uneven because the top right section right here is much darker than the left section here, the top left. And I know that's just naturally the lighting of the situation, but it just kind of makes it look uneven. So I'm going to take another graduated filter right here, and I'm going to drag it over the corner like this. And I'm just gonna brighten it ever so slightly. See, just like that. Just a little bit. Maybe Dehaze will help us out. See, yeah. Just like that. See how it just added a little bit of detail in these trees here? That's exactly what I wanted right there. Now it looks a little better. Let's see. I think we need more contrast, folks. I think we do. I'm gonna go in and just go crazy on the contrast. Not too crazy, but I think something like that is looking quite good. Now, I was gonna say we can brighten up the eyes a little bit, but the eyes are looking quite bright already. See how there's a little bit of a blue tint on the owl? I want to get rid of that because great gray owls aren't blue, folks. So let's go down to the color sliders again here. Press saturation, and let's see. See how the blue, if I go up, makes him very blue. I'm gonna take that all the way down, and now he doesn't have any blue on his feathers. That's what I want, because they're called great gray owls for a reason. They ain't no great blue owls, you feel me? You feel me? Now, to add even more mood, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down to Vignette here, and I'm gonna add a slight vignette. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna go to feather that all the way, and then midpoint, and I'm going to drag that down. See what that does? It brings the vignette closer to the owl, which is what I want. And just do a little bit more, just like that. Made it real moody. I love it. All right, I almost think this image could be a little bit cooler. So let's even go to our temperature slider again and drop it down to, yeah, I like that, -9. I think that looks great. And this is just personal preference. A lot of y'all are gonna be like, no, why would you change that? It looks so good warm. And that could be your personal preference, and I respect that. But I personally think a scene like this, because it actually was after sunset I took this shot, and I think this needs to be a little cooler. I'm even gonna bring up the whites on the global adjustments here. Make him really pop. Just like so. And see how he's really starting to pop now. Look at those little legs. Aren't they the cutest little fangs? And that is looking much moodier. Let me think if I need to do anything else to it here. I almost wonder if we bring down the color of the yellows here in the bottom. Nah, I think I kind of like the yellows, so I'm gonna leave those. Just like so. And another nitpicky thing, folks, like I said, I'm very nitpicky when it comes to editing, is after I added this radio filter here and darkened everything but the bird, it left this pine tree behind the bird a little too bright because it didn't affect that. So I'm gonna go into my brush tool here, raise the size of my brush a little bit, and I'm gonna paint over this pine tree. It doesn't have to be perfect, I know, blah, 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 blah. It's not gonna be perfect, that's for sure. Just paint over this pine tree. And I'm just gonna bring the highlights down. See that? I'm even gonna try to bring the brightness down just a little bit. Yeah, maybe even more. Just like that. See what that did? If I bring the brightness back up, that tree just stands out too much. So I'm gonna bring it down 25%. There, perfect. Ooh, that looks good. Bang, 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 bang. Love it. That is a moody photograph, ladies and gentlemen, if I do say so myself. You know what, folks? I think that's a finished product. Let's take a look. Let's blow that up here, big screen. Whoops. Yeah, look at that, y'all. Sorry about my computer noise or my laptop noise. Can you hear it going? It's a very old laptop. These are 45 megapixel files. It freaks out over these files. Okay, let's look at the before and after. Go before. All right, there it is. See, it's just very green and washy and everything just kind of blends together and it's just not vibing. And we go after. And look at that, folks. We turned this into an absolute vibe. That is sexy. If I do say so myself. Before, after. I could do that all day because it looks so good. Oof. Yeah. Alrighty, folks. There you have it. There's how to add some mood to your wildlife images. I hope this tutorial helped you a little bit. If you guys want to see more videos like this, tutorial style videos, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear. And until next time, signing out. Hope you all have a great one. Cheers. Bye. Bam.